everybody, it is the crop rockin', Nickelback poppin', curls for all the girls, the Terminator, Sam Beal, as seen on Impact Wrestling, and you are listening to The Final Count.
Hey everybody, Anthony Corelli here, formerly known as Sam Jebediah, and you are listening to The Final Count.
Hey, it's Eric Ortiz, voice of the Valley from OVW, and you're checking out The Final Count. Citizens, this is Super Z, and you're watching The Final Count.
That's right. It is that time again. It is The Final Count Spotlight, and I'm your host, Rymode, and I am joined by, in just a few moments, my guest. I'll get him on here in just a few moments, but first of all, I wanted to go ahead and thank one of our sponsors and throw it to our sponsor, Colin Elbow. Throw it to Al Snow from ColinElbowBrand.com. Go get yourself some good and great Colin Elbow swag. Definitely great fitting shirts, t-shirts, hoodies, and hats even. So, let me throw it to this plug here, and we'll get our guest on. He is Holla's favorite son, Jebediah Blackhawk. But right now, let's throw it to Mr. Al Snow.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
There you go. And just real quick, if you go to ColinElbowBrand.com, use our promo code FinalCountKY to save 10% at checkout. You'll be helping not only ColinElbowBrand.com and helping out Al and the guys over at Colin Elbow, but you'll also be helping out us here at the Final Count. Again, go use our code FinalCountKY to save 10% at checkout. But right now, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest at this time. He is OVW original, Hawk Holla's favorite son, Jebediah Blackhawk. What's up, Jebediah? How you doing?
Hey, Ryan. How you feeling today, fella?
Feeling pretty good. Off of a great, holiday season and everything, and excited about 2025. What about yourself?
Oh, it's going to be a big year for Jebediah Blackhawk. It's going to be a big year for Ohio Valley Wrestling, man. And I wish you a happy new year, man. All the luck you can possibly get.
Yes, sir. And I thank you, and likewise, happy new year to you as well.
Thank you. Did you have a good holiday season, Ryan?
I did. I had a great holiday season. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Oh, man, it was so good to have some time off. I was able to spend some time with my people. You married fella, Ryan?
I am not, unfortunately.
The right lady just ain't come along yet, fella. And I found my queen about 15 years ago. I ever tell you how I met my wife?
Not yet, but you can.
I was at the shopping center there, at the mall, and I was walking through the quarter there, getting ready to leave. I looked over in the food court, and I seen this good-looking blonde sitting over there, prettiest thing I ever saw. And I was staring at her. I turned right around, walked right into the door. Well, you know me, I took a step back and shook it off, and I turned around and looked at her again. Don't you know, I walked right into that door. She come over to help me. She goes, man, you must be some kind of idiot. It says pull, not push. I married her about 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. That's pretty awesome story right there. Walk right into the door twice, not once, but twice.
Well, she's an awful good-looking woman, fella.
There you go. Hey, women like that'll do that to you.
That's right.
So it's been I'm glad to finally get you on here. Talk about your career, your wrestling career. Talk some OVW current days because it's no secret. I don't think that you are a backstage agent and an agent for OVW, and so you have an eye for talent. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the broadcast here. About I want to talk about you first of all. When did you decide to get into the pro wrestling business?
Oh, I guess it was probably about the time I was 8 years old, maybe. First time I watched Saturday night's main event.
All right, all right.
Honestly, no. I was living life. I did the high school football thing and the high school wrestling thing. Went to college for a season, played football. Unfortunately, when you go to college to play football, you got to go class, and I didn't do such a good job of that. On the summer, I came home to make my credits up so I could go be eligible to play the next season. A friend of mine, Cousin Crazy, took me over to Bingo Hall on Dixie Highway, and Nightmare Incorporated was wrestling a show over. It was Danny Davis and a handful of other guys you have to dig pretty deep to find. Frank Miller, Trailer Park Trash, Flash Flanagan, Sean Venom, the Phantoms, Jason Lee, Victor Bruiser, these independent guys that are, we're some of them Hall of Famers now and some of them should be, right?
Exactly.
And I saw it and I'd been watching it my whole life. And I just said, man, I can probably do that. And went and talked to Danny a couple of days later over on Mechanic Watt Street in Jeffersonville, little one room he had over there with the ring in it. And guy told me, he said, you may not make $1 million, but I give you a career you can be proud of. So I'm like, yeah, figure me in, because I wasn't going to graduate from college when I was 18 years old. So I started training to be a professional wrestler at Nightmare Incorporated under Danny Davis, and then moved over to Mechanic Street when it became Ohio Valley Wrestling, and was there for quite a ways. Episode when they started using TV, I was there for episode number 1 and was, on the very first episode of OVW television, in a locker room full of, really, really talented independent wrestlers. And it was always a home,
Gotcha. Definitely. So he was in OVW from the beginning before it was even OVW, before,
That's
like
right.
you said, it was Nightmare Incorporated. Who were some of your inspirations growing up that you like to watch? And then even like when you got into the ring, who was some that you took inspiration from?
Well, when I was a kid, I was really spoon-fed Hulk Hogan vitamins and Saturday night's main event cartoons on, the what WWF did in the 80s and early 90s, 80s and early 90s for professional wrestling, as far as making it mainstream. The toys and it was absolutely flashing in front of me as a kid, and I fell in love with it. Even though I grew up in the South and I was, I just championship wrestling, Memphis might have been a million miles away when I'm 7 years old, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd catch them on Sunday mornings in Louisville, and watch Memphis wrestling. Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee, Dutch Mantell, Jeff Jarrett. He was a kid, young, of course. Then, but Hulk Hogan, man, who doesn't want to be the Hulkster, right? I'm 80s Hogan, not Hogan. Not Hollywood Hulk, but definitely, when he figured out, I've got to do a handful of things the right way. And then he just blew up. I mean, it didn't hurt that he was, 6'8" and 320 pounds of solid steel, right? But Hulk Hogan, his mannerisms, everything about him. If you ever go back and look at my work, I definitely took from him the way his mechanics were. I really looked up to Hogan's style. It's really one dimensional, but so am I. Keep it simple and everybody can follow it. And they like it because it's easy to follow. Who doesn't like Dr. Seuss? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. 100%.
So if it's an easy read, I'll read it 100 times.
Right. Keep it simple. It's the best way to go. A lot of times, for real.
That's what I think.
Um,
And then later, being in the wrestling business, I've been so lucky my entire career to be surrounded by really, really great people. To learn from Danny Davis, right, and then Rip Rogers when he joined in, and being able to not just be able to actually work matches with Rip Rogers and be in the ring with him. The guys that Danny had trained before me. Frank or Trailer Park and Victor Bruiser, I don't think was trained by Danny, but he worked with OVW early. Then, early OVW, Dutch, anybody from Memphis could stop in any week. Dutch Mantell would come in for a couple of weeks, or, you just go back and look at all the old episodes. You can find all the old OVW stuff on YouTube too.
yeah, oh yeah.
It's not hard to find. Just type in who you're looking for, and it'll pop right up. And everything else you don't want to see, it'll be there too.
Definitely.
But yeah, you're around people. Currently, I think my biggest teacher is Al Snow. I'm learning so much from him, watching him do what he does. It's the production standpoint's completely new to me, because I've always been, in the ring, and I've always worked with directors and producers and things like that. And just watching him do how he does what he does, man, he's spectacular. He's taught me. I thought I was a Jedi Master when I came to OVW a couple of 3 years ago to wrestle, and realized that I was not a master at all. It was like, oh gosh, wow, it's just insane what you pick up being around guys like Al Snow, and then you got like Doug Basham, who's around. He's got his hands full right now, but there was a time when Doug Basham was a pretty good teacher.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean by Doug Basham and right now and everything. Oh my goodness. What was it like, training with Danny Davis and training under Danny Davis? What was that like?
It was completely different than the way we train wrestlers modernly. It was a very physical test. You didn't just you couldn't just sign up and learn to be. You had to talk to the guy. You had to go have a meeting with the guy. Before that you had to be in the business. If you weren't going to make it, you weren't going to make it, and you had to be tough to make it, because he ran you through so much training wise. Like it was just so old school. You hear horror stories about the basement and the barns and the places where the old guys train guys, and Danny was no different, man. You worked for him till you threw up, and then aches and pains and hurts, and if you want it, keep fighting for it, and it was hard. That same kind of mentality is what OVW Academy does now when they train wrestlers. It's very similar to that. That you have to be an athlete of some kind to be a professional wrestler. You can't do what professional wrestlers do unless you're an athlete. And OVW Training Academy makes sure you're an athlete that can perform.
Definitely. And
which not the same. The OVW Academy is not the same as Danny's OVW training style. It's far more in depth now. The OVW Academy, and it's not even. It's just having a career in professional wrestling. You may not want to be a professional wrestler. You may want to be in production. You may want to be in writing, any aspect. You may just want to learn office logistics, right? Marketing. A variety of things that you have to, that are things that I wish I would have learned along the way as a worker, because then when the work's over and you can't do it anymore, what do you do, right? So it's going to give you not only the opportunity to become a professional wrestler, but also a career when your wrestling's done. And also with financial things, financial classes and the writing classes and the production class, with all that, with all the study that they provide at the OVW Academy, you become a well-rounded worker as well, because you see every aspect of a TV production. So you're already a million miles ahead of any independent guy that got trained by Zeke behind the garage. Right?
Exactly. And see, that's why one of the reasons I love, OVW, and because, you go to OVW and you're going to get trained properly. You're not going to be in just some, not dojo, but like some barn somewhere in the middle of nowhere and just being trained by someone who's not had that experience. No, you go to OVW and you're being trained by people who have been there and who know what it takes to get to the level of a WWE, or a TNA,
Right.
something like that. They know what it takes to get you there, and to get there. Do you remember your first match? And if so, what was that like?
My first match was on Thanksgiving night in 1996 against Nick Dinsmore, who goes on to become Eugene for the WWE.
Nice. Against Nick
My
Dinsmore.
very first match.
Oh, wow.
My second match was a battle royal that night, which I won. And then my third match was the following week in a heavyweight championship match. Because the battle royal winner got the champion, who at that time was Doug Basham. So my third match was against Doug Basham.
Wow.
So my first three matches, I got a pedigree.
There you go.
The thing is I don't think Danny would have trusted me to go into the wrestling ring with those guys unless I knew what I was doing. I trained class wise. You train your whole life. You learn your whole life.
Yes.
The hardest thing for a guy is when they think that they know everything, and then you start to learn stuff. You got to open your mind and learn something new every day. It's like I said, when I came to OVW after leaving for a while and doing independent work, and I actually I was tagging with Snake Williams Jr. at the time, and we went and started a tenure at OVW. I went in there with the mentality that I knew what I was doing, and I really didn't have anything to learn. And I got the opportunity to work with guys like Tony Gunn and Cash Flow. Anybody from the old LOB, Isaiah and Big Zoe, Steve Sendrowski. And then we were working with the Twins. We wanted to work with the Twins. We got a chance to Crixus and Luscious Lawrence and these guys as they were coming in. Turbo, the Outrunners. Got a chance to tag against the Outrunners, and with Ronnie Roberts and Z and
ZDP.
The Fallen.
We
got a chance to run a little program with the Fallen, and we weren't regulars there. We were we need you to come in. Okay, well, then it would be a month before you saw us there again, or it could be 2 months before you saw us there again. But when we did get opportunities, we got opportunities against the good talent, right? So I'm getting a chance to work with guys because they were guys that have been around almost as long as I had.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so I'm learning something from you guys, and then all of a sudden Al starts teaching me, about the psychology of wrestling according to Al Snow. And what my psychology of wrestling was not the same as Al Snow's when I showed up that day, and as he's saying things, and I'm like, well, okay, if you're out, I mean, look what you've accomplished. Look who you are. I've got to listen to what you're saying. You're successful. And it's all been right. Everything that I thought I knew, he showed me why, that's okay, but this is better. And all of a sudden, I've, as a wrestler, I've gotten 10 times better, right? So just having the opportunity to work at OVW as a wrestler is huge opportunity for talent.
Definitely. While we're talking about matches, if you could pick 3 matches, I know this is like a tough question because you've had so many matches in your career. If you could pick 3 matches that you've had up to this point in your career as your top 3 favorite matches, what matches would you pick?
Oh gosh, man.
We can
number
come
one.
back to it if you want.
No. I mean, there's just so many matches. I'd say my favorite one. I had number one's got. Well, number three is I wrestled Snake Williams in Muncie, Indiana. Right. We had been tagging. We got sideways, and we went out and we wrestled in a hair versus hair match. Memorable, right? One of my favorites. The second one had to be when I got the opportunity to go to Cleveland and work, do something which really wasn't a match. It was a run-in, but I got a chance to actually work on that kind of stage with Kane for a brief second, right?
Wow.
Because I think it was Gund Arena, and it's 40,000 people on a Monday Night Raw, right? Mm-hmm. You've gone and you've watched Raw, right?
Yeah.
But you've never walked down the ramp on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You forget why you're there. Mm-hmm. And for a split second, I was like, man, I bet I can take him.
Right.
Because if I drop him, I'll get over. No, that wasn't going to happen. But all right, what am I supposed to do here, right? Mm-hmm. That was amazing. That was a huge opportunity. I put that in the same wheelhouse as producing when we went to Appalachia Arena last summer.
Yeah,
right. It was 4,000 plus house easily, right? Did you make that show? Were you able to travel to Pikeville?
I was actually, I didn't end up making that show. I think that was at the time I'd bought tickets for the TNA show that had came to town.
I got you.
I wanted to get to that show, but I would have rather had someone to drive with down there or carpooled with someone down there.
Well, I mean, it's a stretch,
Yeah.
I think the future. I think you're going to see possibly bigger shows closer to home. The waterfront show during when they kick off Thunder over Louisville or the Kentucky Derby, and at waterfront we did the pay-per-view down there last year. Yes. Being a producer on that with a big crowd like that, that was good. But Pikeville, there was such a large crowd, and I had a headset on, and I was directing traffic for for that audience. I love directing traffic for the 400 to show up, most of the time at Davis, right? Mm. But being and knowing that there's you can feel the walls shaking backstage when they do it right.
Yes.
When the crowd does what you're expecting them to do, the way you're expecting them to do it, and they come for you. They pop big. The walls shake, and the walls back there were shaking because the crowd was so loud in that arena. So it was an insane moment in my career. That was so important to me to be a part of it backstage, right? My favorite, I think, most memorable, probably I had Ty had Mally Bali Shira at Third Turn or Country, Third Turn during Gaslight Festival. And it ended up in a tag match. But, close to the first would be I got Cash Flow.
Nice.
I wrestled title match with Cash Flow at a summer tour, right? Yeah. And just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and had such a good time with Cash Flow, right? Absolutely one of the best, and that's the first time really that he and I had ever gotten a chance to wrestle each other. So he's been around as long or longer than I have. Mm. So it's not every day you get to touch gloves with somebody who's been doing it as long as you.
Yeah.
And is better than you at it. It's because I feel like I'm pretty good at it, but he's better than I am. And I recognize that as far as, what he does. So that was absolutely a huge for me. Right. but there's always been big opportunities to wrestle, with guys. Paul White, when he had visited OVW, and spending time with guys like Wolfie D. And
Yes.
we did for a while. I was able during developmental. I got transitioned into a kind of a preacher character for a while, and I was able to work with Stacy Cornett and Wolfie D and Brian Logan and Dave Batista, right? So I'm in that group with those guys, and at the time I'm 20 something years old, and I'm thinking that I'm the one, and I'm standing next to Dave Batista, right, future heavyweight champion of the world. So I was kind of full of myself when I was 20, and I wish I'd have had my mentality that I have now, the way that I see the wrestling industry, the wrestling business now, than when I was actually had a chance to be a bigger part of it as a talent. That's because I was really closed-minded. I figured, right, I didn't really want to be a part of it. And that was the biggest opportunity I ever blew as far as professional wrestling goes, because my heart wasn't in it. I didn't really love doing the preacher, the gimmick. And I wish I had just sucked it up and done it, because it was probably going to end up in a deal for, WWE.
Oh, wow.
So if I'd have just hung on and took it more positively, even though I wasn't in love with it, if I'd have just dealt with it, then I probably would have got the opportunity to do that on a bigger stage, because it was a good faction. It was a good act, and it had Dave Batista with it. Right. So it's like, let's just ride this, let's just follow this guy. He knows where he's going,
Exactly.
But I'm young, and I was young and stupid. So, it's like, open my ears and listen. I wish I had, I didn't have anybody beside, I think Rip may have said a couple of things to me, but I didn't listen. I was young, and I regret those things now,
Right. Now, how did you come up with the name Jebediah Blackhawk?
My mama gave it to me.
Okay, so it's birth name. Okay, I got you. How did you find out? And I did not know this, that Cousin Otter would become Jack Black. How did you find out you'd be paired with Cousin Otter?
Oh wow, man. Oh man. Me and Jack had a pretty good run together at OVW. We had tag titles twice. We put like a 3-year run together. We were married to the Andrettis, Vito and Guido. He started training a ways. I was already working. I'd been under the hood as a Blackhawk, and I had been wrestling as the Hillbilly for a while. And I was getting over, and it was working, and it was easy. So that's where they put him with me, because he had stuff that I didn't have, and I had stuff he didn't have. And when you got two guys who are willing to get along, that's how you learn from each other.
Yeah.
So that good tag teams, the best ones are polar opposites. They're not the same guy. They're two different type of men or women, and they both bring something to a team that otherwise, as an individual, they wouldn't have. And he had this brilliant marketing sense and a really good eye for high spot, right? Things that would bring the crowd to. I like going to I would do the same thing over and over and over and over and over, right? He wanted to bring, his ideas were fresh and they fit what we were doing every time. Hey, let's try this. But that's what it was. Like he needed to get his feet wet. I already had my feet somewhat wet. It was an opportunity for me for us to work as a tag team against other tag teams, and we just magically got over as the Hillbillies. It was automatic. He played it so well. He took on the I've always been the more cerebral, smarter version, with a big heart.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a big heart, which is what we had in common, but he was the more scratch his head, but always outsmarts everybody,
Right, right.
Um, he would be the last one standing when everybody else was falling for it. He would, no, maybe not me. He wouldn't step in a trap where I would just run into it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good. We had really good chemistry in training. We had really good chemistry. We didn't really hang out a lot outside of training early. And then when we were together as a team, we were on the road together a lot. And that was, that's where a lot of education takes place, when you're in the vehicle with your tag partner. It's no different than when I've had a couple of, tagged with Trailer Park Trash at OVW, and we won the tag team titles, and that converted me to turn on him and become Judas and, see the error of my ways eventually. My next partner that had any kind of longevity with was Snake, Snake Williams Jr., because he was, he's a little bit, I think he's 6 years shy of what I've been in. He trained at OVW early, and then he took an independent run earlier than I did. He decided to go work independent. It took me 5 or 6 years to get out on the independent circuit, right? Where he trained, he did his thing, and then he went out in the world and tried to conquer it. I always stayed home. I didn't want to go conquer the world until I had to, because I quit. And had no choice but go out and conquer the world, which was the huge mistake. Again, the thing with the worst thing a guy can do is just not tell his boss anything that's on his mind. You've got to have an open communication with your boss. If you're thinking something, you got to say it. If you're not happy with what you're doing, admit to them, say, I'm not loving this. Well, let's find a way for you to love it, because this is what we, yeah, man, me and Snake had really good chemistry early. We'd worked against each other on independent circuit, but we got along. We're both kind of sarcastic, and have really good, just have a rapport with each other, where, like we've been married for 50 years, So we started running together and tagging, and people magically assumed that we had been tagging together our entire lives. And we'd only been working together for a couple of months, because we were able to communicate with each other so well. And then, have really, reasonably good entertaining matches to entertain the fans together.
Definitely.
It's just, you get sideways sometimes. We ran into, it wasn't working. We weren't where we're at. To make it work, you've got to see if it'll go higher. You've got to get it on TV, right? You've got to get out of the armory, and you've got to go and you've got to get on TV. And OVW gives that opportunity to a handful of people. Hey, here, show the world what you can do. And we got the opportunities to do it, but the opportunities just never came to fruition, the bigger opportunities, right? Because we're over 30 by a handful of years, both of us. And, they're not really hiring, fresh out of high school 50-year-olds. So I tried something else, and we ended up parting ways. We had a pretty good run together. But yeah, man, that's about it on tag team wrestling.
Speaking of, you mentioned the Andretti's. What was it like working with Vito and Guido? What were they like?
Golly, man, we were married to them for 3 years. When you wrestle the same guys over and over and over again, they're part of your family, right? They were part of our family. We never had a single problem with the Andretti's. They were enforcers, right? they beat you up. That's what they did. They beat people up. And we always had really good wrestling with them. There's horror stories of where the Andretti's, dismantled teams, for being ugly. And I guess we just weren't ugly enough for them to beat on us the way they beat on most people. But we were, we were with them for 3 years, right? I still talk to Guido. I think he kind of, he's doing his own thing. When you're done, you either, find something else to do or you disappear. And Guido's just disappeared. Vito still hangs around. He's looking for opportunities. He's got a great mind for wrestling, has some health issues, bless his heart. If you visit Davis Arena, and you look around the crowd, there's regulars, right? Mm-hmm. People are there every week, but look for strangers, right? Because you never know who those strangers are that are sitting right next to you,
right?
Because it's somebody that wrestled for OVW in the beginning, mm-hmm. or they were at OVW when it wasn't so hot, when developmental left, and it was like, oh, what are they going to do? And the houses weren't 400. When they were drawing 20 people a week, right? And those are the guys who carried the company when it was, because it's not ever stopped being OVW.
Right.
There's always been guys that carried it, even through its worst times.
Yes.
And, one of my regrets was that, I left on such bad terms, because honestly, I'm that kind of guy. But I was just in such a bad place at that point in my life, and so deterred by what I was doing that I forgot who I was. And I should have stayed and helped and been a bigger part of the company. So when they opened the door at OVW 3 years ago, and I saw that, what Al Snow had created there, that it was his passion. It was his. And he owned it and he loved it and he didn't want anybody to mess with it. And I'm like, man, you got to get behind a guy that believes in something like that, especially if it's Al Snow. So, I'm with you. What do you need me to do?
Definitely.
Honestly, it's that feeling there. And I feel I'm so happy to be a part, of what they do there.
Yes.
Every week. I love to come out after the shows and watch everybody leave. Mm-hmm. And you can always tell what kind of a show it was because their reactions when they leave. When the show's over, they just left. They just left this 40,000 seat arena. They were completely satisfied. They're talking to each other. They're loving it. They're grabbing merchandise on the way out. They had a really good time at that OVW show. And I'll just watch and stack chairs now, because I just love it. Every once in a while, somebody will walk up and shake hands, be like, oh, but I love just watching the people's reaction when they leave the show, because it's such a really good show that they're putting on at OVW.
Yes.
And as a segment producer, I'm a part of that. Mm-hmm. But it's the talent. There's talent, at OVW right now, man. And somebody in the locker room is going to have a heavyweight championship someday, and for a big company, somebody in there is going to have it.
I not to jump ahead too much, but I made a prediction last year, and then I made a prediction, and it kind of a little bit before I go on, it kind of a little bit came to fruition last year in a way, but it didn't come to the fruition that I thought it would last year. But I think this year there's better of a chance of this happening. So I last year predicted on our prediction show, I predicted that Cal Hero would become OVW heavyweight champion within the year 2024. That didn't happen, but he did become, before it became the media championship, he did become Country Brewing Kentucky heavyweight champion. He did become that for a little bit last year. But I think this year is going to be his year to become heavyweight champion for sure.
Okay, Ryan, let's have a discussion. Mm-hmm. Why why is Kal Hero the heavyweight champion in your mind? Why is Kal Hero the heavyweight champion of OVW? What are his qualifications? What makes him worthy of being the heavyweight champion of OVW? What has he done? What has he accomplished?
I feel like in my mind, I feel like he's a workhorse of OVW. He's one of the workhorses of OVW. He's in the ring, he's proven that he can go with just about anyone you put him with. So I feel like that's kind of like the top reason I feel like he should be OVW heavyweight champion.
What about his character?
His character, yeah, that's a good question.
No, I mean his character, his who he portrays. Is he the kind of guy, the champion that the world would get behind?
Oh yeah, no, I feel like especially the OVW fans, they get behind him now. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They get behind him now. So I mean, he's the guy everyone likes him around OVW. He's the one that they do. He's a fan favorite of OVW.
I value your opinion, Ryan.
That is my opinion, but I feel like it's a unanimous thing too. I feel like.
So if you're saying if Kal Hero's given the opportunity to be the heavyweight champion of OVW, that he deserves to be the champion of OVW?
I think so.
Like I said, I value your opinion. I'm not at liberties to give those kind of opinions.
Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, I think he'd make a hell of a heavyweight champion.
Definitely.
I think he's a great guy, man. I think he's in a world of non-white meat baby faces. He's about as white meat. You know, he looks like Slater from Saved by the Bell. Right?
He really does.
I mean, he's the dimples and he looks like Slater.
Yeah, I've never thought about that.
Likable guy. He's likable. He's likable, and he's got a temper. He's not afraid to fight. He'll mix it up. The Christmas Chaos show. You watched the pay-per-view Christmas Chaos?
I was there. Front
okay,
row.
You saw he and Tony Gunn have their war.
Yes,
and he came out of that. And Tony Gunn's probably as tough as they come. That I think that's a qualifier. That's a notch in his belt. That he deserves it. Can Kal Hero, if he had to beat a Cash Flow, does he have enough to beat a Cash Flow?
I think he does, because I think he's shown that before. He's shown he has the heart to do that. He'll go the limit too. He's willing to go the limit. I mean, I feel like he's like I don't want to say he'd be an underdog champion, but as far as character-wise, I don't feel like he'd be an underdog champion, but he'd be a fighting champion.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he can get there. But now there's Mount Kadeem you got to climb.
Right.
And you were at Christmas Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You saw what Mount Kadeem did to Luke Curtis.
Yes.
And Luke Curtis, former
heavyweight champion.
That's right. Mount Kadeem ain't no joke.
Yeah. Oh no.
That's a monster. That's a monster. So yeah, it's not about he's got to, to beat him, you got to find a way to beat him.
Definitely. Let's talk about a return from Christmas Chaos. One of the returns I really enjoyed was seeing Big Zo back and OVW, and just the reaction from the crowd that he got was just amazing. Like, me being one of them, I was just like, this is so awesome to see Big Zo back. And just like I said, when he walked out that curtain, wow, like the crowd was definitely happy to see Big Zo back in OVW.
So you're a Big Zo fan?
I am. He was actually the first interview I actually had on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm a Big Zo fan too. Such a nimble big man.
Yes.
So light on his feet and strong.
Yeah.
290, maybe 290 and athletic. I mean, I can't do a cartwheel.
Yeah.
I can't do a cartwheel. I couldn't do a cartwheel when I was 20.
Right.
And he's out there at 300 pounds doing cartwheels. He's a jock, man. Donovan Cecil, same way.
Yes. He was actually on our Christmas special just a couple weeks back.
Now, if I had to pick one that, he and Mount Kadeem came up short against Mount Kadeem, but he's been his best challenger so far.
Yes, I agree.
His closest, the cash flow, but that was as far as Kadeem being the champion, I think Donovan's been his biggest challenge.
I agree.
Cal could have something for him. That's a lot of. If he's fast, you wear him out.
Quick on speed.
What could happen? You never know. You never know.
Very true. Very true. Let's go back a little bit more. Talk about you worked with Rip Rogers and for the OVW Heavyweight Championship in a match back on December 4th, 1998.
I worked with Rip Rogers in 1998 for the Heavyweight Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds about right.
The match went to a no contest, actually.
Well, I've had a lot of heavyweight title fights and not won a single one of them.
Oh, right.
The OVW title fights.
Right.
I've always been a bridesmaid, never a bride.
But you are a former 3-time Southern Tag Team champion.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. But the big crown, I've never had the big crown.
Right.
Maybe I challenge Mount Kadeem.
Hey, I mean, no, not pitching that.
Go, Donovan, you get him.
Yeah.
And Kyle, you get him too.
Right. Triple threat.
Maybe Doug Basham can beat him.
I don't know if Doug's up to that. Love their daddy over there.
No, I think Doug will surprise you.
Maybe we can get the Krispy Kreme of the crowd, Chris.
I don't know, man. Oh.
Someone else I did not realize he was in OVW as under another name. I figured he'd probably been in OVW. He was under the name Master of Terror in OVW, Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant. I had no idea he was in OVW.
Jimmy Valiant?
Yes. Under the name Master of Terror.
What's the year on that? No,
I didn't
wait.
Get a year on that.
I think you're saying, okay, so let me tell you, when you wrestled a Master of Terror, you wrestled a Master of Terror.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who it was. I wrestled the Master of Terror.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. If you say so.
That's what I'm doing the research.
1998, you say. I'm sorry, man. Let me tell you what I had for breakfast.
Right. Let's talk about being Southern Tag Team Champion. What did that mean to you to be a 3-time Southern Tag Team Champion?
Well, the thing is, when you're champion, you represent the company. And I did an okay job of representing the company as the Southern Tag Team Champions. It's an honor. Anytime that you carry the belts of a company, whether it be Southern Tag Team titles, whether it be media titles, whether and not just at OVW, but for any company, when they choose you, or when it's your opportunity to become the champion and be the face, the go-to guy for a company, it's an honor. It's a privilege, right? You earned it.
Definitely.
You earned it. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. I don't have replicas of the Southern Tag Team titles. I don't have those. I wish I had those. Those are actually AWA Mid-South, the red ones with the black background, red on chrome. They were beautiful, heavy belts. They were nice. I wish I had one of those. I think OVW had those for a long, long time, and then traded them out for a different belt, and now they look completely different. But those classic ones, I think somebody still has those classic ones that's with the company.
Wow. Yeah, I always loved those tag titles. those Southern tag titles. And
Oh, they
it's
were great, man.
to
They
the
were
point
really beautiful. And
that,
you know, when you've got that, you got to think, you know, who was wearing this before me,
right.
right? Who and with those titles came from, you know, AWA, so you got to think all the tag teams there
Yeah.
that had worn those, and then they came to OVW, and you carried those, and you know, it's nostalgia. It's, you know, it's like, you know, you're a part, you become a part of history. Winning titles, you know, you kind of guarantee yourself that part of history, in the fans' minds.
Definitely. Let's talk about, you know, a lot of people kind of think about venues and they like to hear stories about different venues. So 2 venues in mind. One that is similar to the venue in Pikeville, that being Louisville Gardens. The other
Oh,
being St.
completely.
Therese Gym.
St. Teresa's Gym
Mm-hmm.
and the Louisville Gardens.
Yes.
Louisville Gardens is not, Appalachia is not the same.
It's not
Louisville
comparable, like
Gardens,
the size of an arena, you know.
yeah, Louisville Gardens was kind of like, it was more like a high, it can't be compared to anything else. It was haunted, you
Really?
know. It smelled like professional wrestling, even if Aerosmith had a concert there the night before. It was, you know, when we were there, it was aged, you know, but I could only imagine what it was like when, you know, in the early days when they ran there on Tuesday nights, USWA or championship out of Memphis. That's always going to have a special place, knowing that I was one of the last folks to wrestle there, you know, at the Louisville Gardens. It's sitting there, you know. It would take who knows what kind of investment to flip the Louisville Gardens into a useful arena again, because it's in such bad disrepair. I think it's being used as a storage area right now because it doesn't leak that bad. If the right investor was to come along and open the Louisville Gardens, OVW would probably run there regularly and probably fill it up.
Oh yeah.
At least every 3 months or so, I think we could fill in Louisville Gardens up. If you check the capacity on Louisville Gardens with floor seating, it's under 4,000, right? Yeah, that would be cool. I'm pretty sure Al Snow would love that idea. You know, if somebody wanted to flip the Gardens and update it and make it, you know, a reasonable venue. And because, you know, the whole temperature of professional wrestling right now, I mean, other than, you know, New York or WWE, you know, everybody's looking to fill under 4,000 seats.
Yeah.
You know, most can easily, I mean, even AEW, their sales aren't that great, right? As I understand, a 2,100 or 3,000 seat arena is perfect for an AEW. An Impact or a Ring of Honor, could they do 3,000 seats? I think maybe. Could OVW do it with home field advantage at least once every 3 months? I guarantee it. Especially if you shot a pay-per-view for there.
Right.
And brought in somebody that people really, you know, would love an opportunity to get a photograph with, a JBL or a Mick Foley or whoever, you know, would any OVW alumni, you know.
Yeah.
I'd pay to get a picture with Doug Basham, you know, even if he's other Daddy Doug, you know, he's still Doug Basham, or Al Snow, you know, just to put him at, you know, he doesn't. I'm saying that they could fill. We could do 3,000 seats regularly in Louisville. I mean, you're sold out. You know, pay-per-views are selling out at Davis, and Davis is upwards of 400 seats now, right?
Yep.
Give or take. If you sit on laps, which you can't do because of fire code. But you know, I remember that the busiest I ever saw it was the summer before they replaced before it became Hot Point Davis Arena, when Hot Point became sponsors and brought in air conditioning, modern HVAC heat and air conditioning. It's very comfortable in there now in the wintertime. It's not doesn't feel like a furnace. Good sweater weather in there.
Yeah.
Right? And in the summertime, the end of summer there, it was a balmy 70 degrees with the doors open, right? So it's a very comfortable atmosphere to come in and watch professional wrestling. Before that, what the last pay-per-view, when it felt like it was going to rain in there, right? But that was the hottest pay-per-view that we've ever had. As far as being in Davis, in my mind, I mean, that was a sellout. They didn't leave. You know, it was uncomfortable. They were sweating. It was but they still stayed through it. They didn't leave till the end. They were loving the show.
Yes.
You know, that's you know, you got to reward that kind of fan. You know, because I wouldn't have sat through it. I mean, like, no, I watch wrestling at home on TV. And you keep the $20 or whatever it was to get in. That's fine. I'm taking my kid. We're going to get in the truck and sit in the air conditioning, right? No, the OVW fans, they sit there and it felt like it was going to rain. It was so humid, right? They had the fans with the ice, and it was people were just, they didn't even care that it was hot. It was like Thunderdome.
Yeah,
it was an insane environment for professional wrestling, and I'll never forget that night, right? That was huge. I love that. But I love the fans of OVW too. Always have, you know.
And we love OVW. And something I love to say, and I think it's really become something that's really rings true more so now than ever, is that OVW, and it's always been this, don't get me wrong, OVW is such, no matter whether you're a wrestler, a member of staff, or just a fan, whether you've been there 1,000 times or you're coming on your first night, OVW is such a family. You know, we're all such a big family. And I've always considered OVW as a family. Ever since my first show was, I don't remember my first show, but I do remember the first show, but I don't remember the date of it or anything, or the month. But I do remember my first show, as far as coming to OVW regularly. That was on a Wednesday night in October of 2004.
Oh, wow.
That was my first time I started coming into OVW on a regular basis. Every Wednesday night without a mishap. Again, that's back when it was free to get in every week because of WWE developmental deal and everything. But I never missed a Wednesday. And then up until I got old enough to where I was able to work, and if I had to work on a Wednesday night, I'd have to miss, but that was until like the 2010, 2011, up somewhere in that area. But I remember back then in OVW, in the WWE developmental days, that we had Six Flags. The Six Flags shows. That's what I would love for OVW to be able to get back to right there at some point. Is have the Kentucky Kingdom shows.
You don't feel like right now it's bigger than it was then? Even with the Six Flags, that wasn't a huge venue. That was the Batman Auditorium.
Yeah,
they still weren't doing monster shows.
Yeah, I just I guess because the WWE people coming in and stuff like that, and just the environment there.
And you don't get that opportunity as often now. I get it. But they do their best to bring some folks in, when they can, as a treat. But you're looking at, when you're looking at OVW's talent, you're looking at the next one, right now for sure. There's been people along the way that, they got opportunities and just didn't take advantage of opportunities, But like right now, I mean, there's a huge class, as far as most for the talent roster right now at OVW, they're cross continental. There's NWA, Impact, TNA, Ring of Honor, all these OVW. The people you're seeing on OVW are also making appearances on other programs as well, and they're all that's what it's. I've been arguing for a long time with a lot of different people that independent professional wrestling has made a comeback. A resurgence of territories. In order to have a territory, you have to have a TV. So I would consider, what they say, those big independent names. I put OVW in the same argument with Impact and Ring of Honor and New Japan and anybody that, GCW. I put OVW in that same category with those guys. We're filling big auditoriums. We've got a longer TV show than any of them, right? 30 years almost. They've been shooting TV, for OVW. There's a pedigree there. It's a competitor. It's at a point right now. It doesn't need a developmental deal to get. It could easily be number 2.
Yeah, I agree.
It needs a major market deal, but it could easily be number 2 with fan support because how many fans that weekly or regularly go to OVW or doing podcasts, right? That are reaching out to hundreds of thousands of people over the course of time. We're having a conversation now about OVW on the Final Count, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, as your podcast grows, you continue to see people. So it's living in the age of social media and the podcast and the posting and the personal spaces on the internet, whatever they happen to be. Jebediah Blackhawk on Facebook, right? It's easier to reach more people and become bigger. You don't have to have that big network deal in order to reach masses, but in order to make it monetarily feasible, you have to have those TV dollars.
So right? Sure.
You can't run enough shows in a year to maintain operations for the kind of operation you have to maintain in order to pull that kind of crowd. So that money has to come from somewhere. So, when they raise ticket prices, it's like, okay, why? Because we're putting money in a piggy bank for something really big, right? Yeah. All of them are that way. All those companies run with that kind of financial,
like a financial backing, or
they're all building, and always trying to get bigger. An AEW, an unlimited war chest, right? They just throw money away. How much you need, right? I'll write you a check. You don't have that at Impact or OVW or Ring of Honor. They're all fighting for, and anyone could win to become second place behind New York. And because the WWE has looked global, it opens up the United States for independent wrestling territories. That's my argument on it, the resurgence of independent wrestling. So if you have a TV and you have an area, the Ohio Valley is stretched from Tennessee. Yes, OVW's ran in Tennessee. They ran Northern Ohio, Illinois, and Indiana, the Ohio Valley. That's OVW's territory.
Right.
Done. Nobody could argue that. It's been that it's never gone out as far to prove it, but last summer was evidence. It went to Northern Ohio. It went to, Northern Indiana, the other side of Indianapolis. And OVW never done that. But did it draw? Yes, it did. They know who we are here? Yeah, because they're in your territory. That expanded it, right? So being an OVW fan of an OVW territory is no different than being tri-state 30 years ago, right? There's no doubt it's coming along. West Coast, New Japan. If you have home, you have a TV market, you grab a territory,
Definitely.
Right? Southern, excuse me, I got to let my friend out. And you're watching it anywhere in the world on a network 10 years from now, you can say I was there when, right? I can say I was there when it was on a VHS tape that went to the studio the same night to air the next day. Because I was there then, right? And now I'm here at this boom of OVW, and I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to get to work every time, it's time to go to work. I'm like, I can't wait to get there. Because what do I get to, what, it's not what do I have to do tonight, it's what do I get to do tonight.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm so excited to be there. You see me, I've got the serious look on my face because my gears are turning. I'm thinking, I'm working, I'm connecting, I'm doing all the things. I'm doing my job. I look busy. I look angry when I look busy, but I'm not angry. I'm just really, really excited to be there. And
Right.
busy.
Right.
So when it's all over and I come out, I'm all smiles because it was a great show and everybody's having a great time. Hey, thanks for coming. See you next week. Yeah.
Exactly. I love, how OVW has grown, and it's not just a local promotion or anything or a regional promotion. No, it's become nationally and even more internationally than it has been, or than it used to be, rather. And so I love that the family of OVW has grown. And let's talk about, I saw there's a show, Indiana Powerhouse Wrestling, that you're going to be a part of. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Next Saturday?
I will do things other than OVW sometimes. I'll still get an opportunity to wrestle sometimes. In fact, Indiana Powerhouse Wrestling runs out of Muncie, Indiana. Okay. And they run a really great operation up there. Consistently draws about 400 people to the fairgrounds in Muncie, right? Really good show, really talented. Rodney Filtering trains guys up there, and then they bring in outside talent. I was blessed enough to be able to be invited up there when Snake and I were a tag team, and was able to become a fixture there and stay, not just the journeyman, but actually made a home at IPW once a month. And then when my role changed at OVW, I had to move away from IPW a little bit. But, I'm making a return to IPW on January the 11th. I'm going to go up there, and Snake Williams and I fell apart. Like I said, we had a match against each other, and he cheated, and I had to shave my head. So I've hated him, his guts, ever since. And I actually tried to get my hands on him again a couple of times, and each time he's been ducking me and shucking me. He's shown the world what kind of a coward he really is. He didn't want to fight me man to man. He had to cheat me to beat me because he ain't never going to be as good as me, right? So at the end of the day, I had to work 3 ways to Sunday to get him to do up there. Ways back, I was in a tag match against him, and in order to get him alone, I had to turn on my tag team and make him think that we were going to run as a tag team again. That way I could get him to sign an agreement that we would wrestle their tag team champions on the 11th. But instead, he signed a contract where he will fight me because I'm going to get my hands on him because he shaved my head bald. And we ain't just going to go back to being kissing cousins after you shave my head bald and then you try to murder me in a wrestling ring. You understand? So we're going to have something called a Circle of Friends match in Muncie, Indiana. And what this is, because I did turn my back on the whole locker room in order to get my hands on Snake Williams Jr., so they all want a piece of me. And nobody likes him because he's lying snake in the grass, so they all hate him. So anybody that hates us gets to be lumberjacks outside the ring while we wrestle in an I'm sorry match. So the goal is to beat the other fella so senseless that he ain't got no choice but tell the other guy he's sorry.
Oh, my.
And I'm going to make this feller on the 11th, I'm going to make him say how sorry he really is. And I'm going to let the whole world know how sorry he really is. Because he ain't nothing but a snake in the grass. He turned his back on me. And I ain't going to let bygones be bygones. He got a beating coming. And on the 11th, in Indiana Powerhouse Wrestling, I'm going to beat Snake Williams Jr. within an inch of his life. Now, every time you throw him out the ring, lumberjacks can get at him, but there's no count out.
Right.
So if either one of us end up outside the ring at any given time, we could be getting lumped up 3 ways to Sunday for 15 minutes. And never make it back in the ring to see each other. So imagine trying to fight your best friend in a room where every window's got zombies reaching in the windows to grab you out and pull you through the window.
Right.
It's kind of a scary cage match without a cage, and the
Right,
cage can punch you in your head. So it might have been a kind of a dumb move on my part, but that was the only way I could get him in the ring. Then the only way they'd agree to let me fight him again, because he's beat me, he's cheat me, and he's beat me. And you know, sometimes win is a win, and they don't look at it any other way. But I'm beat him up on January 11th. You quote me.
All right. Well, I didn't let you know on this right here, but you might want to watch your words there.
Wait, hold on. Ryan, you didn't tell me what?
I didn't tell you that I actually sent him an invite tonight.
Sent who an invite?
Snake Williams Jr. is right here. What you say, Snake?
First of all, let's get something straight.
First of all, you don't sucker
hold
me in, talk of OVW wrestling the whole time. So that
Look, you've already been talking for a damn hour, boring me back here. So it's my turn to talk, and you listen.
You better
First
put
of
me
all,
on mute. I ain't giving you a word.
First of all, I started 2 years after you did at OVW, not 6 years, and I'm an OVW original too. And don't you forget that.
You're 6 years
And
worse
just
than I
like
am.
you said, hold up, just like you said, you've always gotten in your way. You got in your way when you was with the Sinners group. You got in your way when you was with Cousin Otter and he turned on you. And then me and you have something good going. We have something good going. And then you get in your way with that. Oh, you know why they didn't want to use us on OVW? Because Jeb didn't want to play ball the way we were supposed to play ball. He wanted to play ball his way. And now
You
you
just
think
don't
you've
want to
tricked
run.
me.
You just
You
jealous of
think
me.
you
You
tricked
just
me.
jealous.
Oh my God, shut up. You think you've tricked me into this big circle of friends match or whatever. You didn't trick me. I've apologized to you so many damn times. And I
I
didn't
don't
even
accept
ask
your
you,
apology
I
because
didn't
you're a
even
lying
ask,
sack of
like I
monkey shit.
said, I didn't even ask you for an apology. Didn't want an apology from you. But you know what? You turned your back on me. You turned your back on Southern Discomfort. And that's why I did what I did to you, because I had to do it to survive. Because I wasn't leaving IPW. I wasn't turning my back on you and walking away from you.
You're
And
trying to
let me
make me
ask you,
look like a
where
bad
did that
person in
get
front of all
you?
these people.
Where did that get you doing your little hillbilly gimmick? It didn't get you nowhere. It didn't get you anywhere but backstage now. Who got more
It got
TV
me
time
away
after
from
you
you.
turned into a
You
hillbilly?
won't be
Who
me.
got more OVW time when you turned into a hillbilly? Me. Me. Because they wanted us as Southern Discomfort. They
Don't
didn't want us
nobody want
separate.
you. They didn't want you
So
without
I'll
me. There
tell you
wouldn't even
what.
be a Snake Williams Jr. if it wasn't for Jebediah Blackhawk. And don't you forget it.
I tell you what. You wanted this match, you're getting this match. I told you I wasn't going to ask you for an apology. I didn't expect an apology from you for turning your back on me. I was going to be the bigger man. I'm not going to ask you for an apology. I'm going to beat your ass and I'm going to make you scream, "I'm sorry,
First of
Snake, for
all, you
turning
don't
your
need to
back
talk
on
like
me."
that in front of all these people. You are trying to make me look like a bad person in front of these people. I ain't no Judas Iscariot. I ain't turned my back on you, fella, just because I don't want to play cowboy redneck biker with you no more. I got back to my roots, Snake Man, and I've been happy ever since. You had me being the kind of person I didn't want to be, and I don't want to be that kind of person no more. And I had to do what I had to do to get away from you. Now, I'm going to tell you what, you try and make me seem like a villain, I'll show them a villain. You
Hey,
know, we
look,
sitting there having a
we
fine
can run back.
conversation
Hey,
until you
look,
showed up.
we
And
can
hold on a
run.
second, because I got
We
something for
can
you
run
too,
back. I
Ryan
don't care
Mosley.
what you
How
got.
you going to blindside me by bringing Snake Williams Jr. on your podcast, fella? I thought we was having a conversation, independent wrestling and your history. The whole time you had this fella waiting to ambush me, Ryan. That ain't right. That's not sportsmanlike.
Me and Snake got a thing. We got a friendship going on too. I mean, you never know. I might be at IPW.
You can't trust him, Ryan. I'm telling you, can't trust him as far as you can throw him.
You know what? Here's the deal. Like I said, You turned your back on me. I did what I had to do to survive. I apologized to you and told you I was wrong in the things I did to you. You don't want to accept that.
And I
I
told
didn't
you
ask you for
I'm
an
not accepting
apology,
your
but like I
apology.
said, on the 11th, after we're inducted into the Hall of Fame together, because you didn't do that on your own. You did that with me. We did that together as Southern Discomfort. After
You
we're
can't even
inducted,
spell Hall of
I'm
Fame,
going
Snake
to
Williams
make
Jr. I'm
you
gonna be in the Hall
scream,
of Fame
I'm
up there.
sorry, Snake. I'm sorry for turning my back on you. I'm sorry for walking away from Southern Discomfort. I'm sorry for ruining all our chances.
I'll be
You're going to be
sorry
the
for
one
making that your last
apologizing to
Christmas,
me, and
fellas.
you can trust me on that.
Man, this interview's over, buddy. Hang it up.
See ya.
Well, fans, I would say that's it. For right now, we'll see you down the
Oh,
road.
you still got us on the air, Ryan? You ain't had enough? Well, let me tell you what this feller else he's done. This feller don't like small children either. He don't like small children or old people.
Like small
He
children.
doesn't like old people or small children. I like old people and small children. Who's the bad guy, Snake Williams?
And he didn't meet his wife where he said he met his wife, and I'll tell you off camera where he met his wife for real.
Let me tell you something, fella. You ain't going to be telling tales out of school on me, Snake Williams Jr. You ain't telling tales. I tell you, I'm going to see you on January the 11th at Indiana Powerhouse Wrestling in Muncie, Indiana. I'm going to go up there in that Circle of Friends match, and I'm putting it into you, boy. I'm going to put it into you, get you out of my hair for good so I can move on to bigger and better things. Quit worrying about the snake pit and whatnot.
Well, I will tell you this, Jeb. I promise you one thing. After I pin you, I will pick you up. I will shake your hand and I will hug you because you still are my brother, even though
You
you
pinned
turn
me
my back
15
on me.
times, Snake Williams
You're the
Jr.,
one that
but you
wanted
ain't
this
never
match.
going to get to hear the words, I'm sorry, come out of my mouth. You ain't going to get me to
Yeah, I
say the
will.
wrestling
I
ring, boy.
will.
I'm telling
And
you,
I
you
have
can't make
pinned
me
you
tap out.
15 times. I've beaten you every time we've wrestled.
What's that got to do with anything? January 11th ain't then. This is now. Just look
That
at it.
didn't
Who
make
you
a
got
lick.
this
That's
fight
your
with? I am
hillbilly math, isn't
6'3",
it?
265
Hillbilly
pounds.
math.
You didn't know they stacked nasty this high, Snake Williams Jr.?
Man, I'm still trying. I'm still caught up on your hillbilly math. That was then. This is I
And now
don't
you're
even
going to
know.
make, I told you, man, he's got problems with small children. He's got problems with old people. And now look at him. He got a problem with Appalachians, too. What else
Look,
you got
man,
a
this
problem with,
man
Snake Williams?
is one
You
of the
always
most
trying to vent out
stubborn.
on me. Trying to
He's one
pull
of the
that
most
Anderson
stubborn
Cooper
people that
garbage
I've
on me.
ever
Come on,
met.
fella.
He can't stop running his mouth. He can't stop getting in his own way. He's done admitted it several times on your podcast
I'm
that he
going to get
can't
in
get
your
out of his
way.
own way. And he ruined a good thing, man. I mean, we did TNA. We did security at
OVW?
TNA, and we were getting looked at TNA. We were doing OVW. We were the IPW
The
tag team
reason they
champions.
said they
We
didn't
were
want us
on
is
a
because they said
run.
you were too ugly.
Too
And I
ugly.
said, you're right.
First of all, you didn't talk to anybody because I was the one that got us booked everywhere. So I
Yeah,
don't
but
want to hear that.
you ain't never
See,
booked an
you
ad
can't
track,
believe
fella.
nothing he can say. You can't believe a word he says.
That's because I ain't got no internet in Hall Collar. You gonna make fun of me.
Oh.
You got me
Well,
up here.
yeah.
You got me up here in Louisville, up in the offices, so I can talk on the podcast. And Ryan, you ain't.
Oh,
You wait till
don't
I
lie.
see you.
You don't
So
lie. You're in
you
that
wait till I
house
see
and
you
your
next
wife is
Thursday
on
at
the roof holding
OVW,
them
fella.
bunny
Me and you gonna
ears
have
just so
words.
you can get some internet.
I
Ryan,
think
you come right up
Your
to me
wife
after the
is up
show
there
because
on
I'm
the
gonna give you an
roof with the
earful,
bunny
fella. You put this
ears.
slack jaw on
He's up
the
there. Hey,
podcast with
Trina,
me.
he's breaking up. She can turn to
I
the
think
left a
I
little
might
bit.
need to show up at IPW. What you think, Mr. Snake Williams Jr.?
Hey, come on up. Have a good time. I got my band coming up there, Kentucky Music Mafia. They're doing a concert at Intermission because of me. They're doing a concert, and they're like one of the hottest up and coming country artists out right now.
You ain't even their friend, man. He just carries the guitars. He ain't even friends with them.
I've been in their music video.
I was in the
I
music
think that
video.
counts. I think that
I
counts.
guess
as
you're
being
gonna
a
say the
friend.
only reason we was in the music video is
Because
Snake
of
Williams
me.
Jr. was in it.
Because of me. I got it. I got it booked. Who got it booked? Who reached out to them and got it booked? It was me. Who
That's
reached
book
out to
right there.
IPW and got us booked? It was me. Who reached out to OVW and got us booked? It was me.
Oh,
If it wasn't for me, you'd still be sitting in Hawk Holler polishing your golf clubs or whatever you like to polish up there. I'm the one that even pulled you back into this business. I'm
You
the
know
one that
what?
got you your
The
shot
only
at
thing I'm
OVW.
grateful for, the only thing I'm more grateful for, and the opportunity of shutting your mouth on January the 11th, is all the opportunities that your loud mouth got me in the wrestling ring. Because all I had to do was get my foot in the door. And that's my foot in the door. Here you come following behind me. Well, I tell you, you just mad because there would be no Snake Williams Jr. if there wasn't no Jebediah Blackhawk.
Look, got
that's
your
a fact,
foot.
Jack.
Hold up, got your foot in the door? No, I had my foot in the door, and you had to bust on through and push me out of the way
You
because you
had your
thought
foot
you
in the
was gonna
door and they
get something.
slamming the
You
door on your
you
foot.
thought you was gonna get something, and you didn't get nothing.
They
Nothing
thought you
but
was
a
a dead
backstage
gum
roll.
billy
They said,
goat
"Hey,
hook
you know
trying to
what?
get in the
We're
door.
gonna
It's
put
trying to
you
lock
on
you
the
out."
we're gonna put you on the headset because don't nobody want to see you in the ring no more."
Well, I tell you, man, you are uglier than the south end of a northbound jackass, and you're a lying son of a gun, Snake Williams. None of them things happen.
Hey, guys, I'm going to give y'all each one final thing to say about January 11th. Jeb, I'll let you go first.
Make him go first.
Okay.
No,
Snake.
never mind. I got something to say for you. I'm going to say it one last time, Snake Williams Jr. On January the 11th in Muncie, Indiana, at a Circle of Friends match, I'm going to shut you up for good. I'm going to make you say you're sorry, and I'm going to make you beg me to get off of you. And then I'm going to leave you laying in the dirt, the same place I found you, on your back, counting ceiling tiles.
And Snake.
Okay, on January 11th, we're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, so you definitely want to come and see that. Like I said, I've apologized to this stubborn-ass hardhead so many times. I mean, his hillbilly brain has had so many concussions that he can't fathom that somebody could admit that they did something wrong and apologize, so he wants to try to make me scream it in a match. I mean, but when that match comes, like I said, I'm not asking you for an apology for turning your back on me, but I'm sure as hell gonna make you scream one, and you can trust me on that.
First of all, it was longer than a minute.
That was the final word, so that's the final word from both. Fans, don't miss out on this match. January 11th, 2025. General admission tickets are only $10. VIP tables are $120. Delaware County Fairgrounds, IPW, Indiana Powerhouse Wrestling. Don't you dare miss it. Be there.